Steve Ignorant now. Grew up in Dagenham in Essex as Steve Williams. By his own admission, an angry young man. He left home as a teenager and sought shelter at Dial House in Epping. It was effectively a commune for artists, and it was here that he found his voice and a musical partner, with whom he went on to form Crass, which became one of our most seminal punk rock bands. Steve, hello to you. Take us back to that time, if you will, that period in the 70s, that picture then of the environment and the political landscape at the time.
All I remember is it being very grey and black and white and no opportunities. I mean, I was working in the supermarket, you know, sticking little tags on boxes of cornflakes and stuff, and by the time I was 30, I might get promoted, you know, and I mean, I was, 17 at the time, and I mean, I didn't think I was going to make it to 20, you know. You don't when you're young, do you? You know, you can't imagine being 30. And at the age of 58, you know, I've done something right then.
Yeah. So what was it that punk offered you?
A voice, you know, and a chance to say what I really believed in, however stupid and naive, and excuse the pun, but however crass that was. It gave me an opportunity, and a lot of other young people, to get out there. It didn't matter if you'd done... You didn't have to be able to read music. You didn't have to be classically trained or anything, or to play an instrument. You just did the best you could. If you didn't have a drum kit, get a biscuit tin and a couple of knitting needles, and that was a bit like skiffle, really.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. But it just gave... for the first time, I had a voice, you know, and thousands of other young, you know, disgruntled people did as well.
And Crass arrived at the tail end of the punk explosion then. You kicked back at the Clash, the Sex Pistols, for not following through on their rebellious stance. So how were you different?
Well, we didn't go back on our rebellious stance. I mean, they, you know, the Sex Pistols said, you know, there's no future. Well, you know, we thought, yes, there is a future, but you've just got to make it, and that, be positive rather than negative. I mean, it's funny because I've often asked people in punk bands, you know, and they say, I've written a new song, and it's like, I don't like. And I said, well, have you ever tried to write a song where you do like something? And it's really hard to do, because if it's...
it
really throws the spanning of work. But no, we weren't, you know, I mean, I like the Pistols and the Clash. I mean, it was the Clash who turned me, you know, if it weren't for Joe Strummer at the end of his gig in Bristol saying, because everyone was going, oh, you're rubbish, and throwing things at him, and he said, well, if you think you can do better, go and start your own band. So I thought, I will. And I did.
And that was it.
I didn't think it was going to get any further than Garden Gate, you know, but it did. But you know, I thought they were great, the Clash, but I just felt, you know, the Clash went to America and didn't come back. Or when they did, they came back as a rock band. And the Pistols just sort of were mucking about, really. And they looked good.
The Clash made their career in the States with a cover of I Fought the Law, But the Law Won.
Well,
which is kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and now you hear it on TV, on adverts and stuff, and it's on my local jukebox in Sea Pauling. So, you know, and I quite often put it on, to tell the truth. But,
well, let's have a listen to one of your songs now. One of the ones that I should say...
This will clear the hall.
Well, one of the ones I should say, ladies and gentlemen, that we are able to play. What was your motivation? You were very politically active. I think it was the Falklands War that saw you. I think I'm right in saying you're most politically active. It actually prompted a question in the Commons, one of your songs.
Yeah, that was. I think it was Tam Dalyell asked Margaret Thatcher if she had listened to the latest record on the street, which was called "How Does It Feel to Be the Mother of 1,000 Dead?" And after that, we started getting letters of support on headed notepaper from the House of Commons, from the Labour Party, saying that we were fantastic. Right? But if it had been the other way around, it would have been getting letters of support from the Conservative Party and all this. And that's when it started to get... I didn't like it so much then, because it started getting serious, and it stopped being fun, and we were a political thought, and I think there was an MI5 file on us. Our phone was definitely tapped, and all this sort of weird stuff.
So how do you look back on that time now and the influence that you had? I was very interested to learn. I was looking at your Facebook page, and you've been gigging recently, and you were invited to an academic conference recently.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
Because I'm a clever person.
Yeah, maybe I should rephrase that. Yeah. Knowing the background.
I ain't that ignorant, you know. So,
no, yeah.
No, what it was, it was a big... convention over in Portugal, and it was all these different people, and they were talking about, there was a lot of talks on punk rock and the do-it-yourself scene, and the effect it had on social thing, and people trying to find a new life and sustainable living and, you know, ecology and all that sort of stuff, you know, and living cheaper.
I was speaking to your wife, actually, about you, and she was very proud because she said that there'd been a paper written on Crass and the influence that you'd had, and 90% of the professors and lecturers that were attending were of working-class origin. And the reason why they really wanted you was to say, you inspired us to break through those barriers.
Yeah, I know, and it's really weird because they've all got you know, letters after their names, like Dr. So-and-so of philosophy and history, and they've got, you know, standing there, they've got a purple Mohican. It's really bizarre, you know. And then me, and they're sort of saying, "Well, Steve, which one?" "Oh, I don't know." So, but no, it feels really weird. I mean, in those days, I was just in a band called Crass, and I was screaming down the microphone, hoping to change the world and make the world a better place.
One of the reasons why you can't overstate the importance of punk, it seems to be, is that it was the absolute ultimate expression of accessibility. Everybody could come to the party, couldn't they? And so you were hearing voices that had never been heard before, and that released energies into popular culture, into politics, into everything that we're still riding on today, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think it's really important to say that, I mean, at Crass gigs, the audience we were playing to were very young. I mean, some of them are 12 years old, coming back in, you know, this is 1980, all that sort of stuff. And the audience we used to get was, I can't be PC about it, so if I use certain words, I really apologise, but I don't know how else to describe it. But, I mean, we used to, at the kids at our gigs, they were the skinny kids at school, or the kids with braces on their teeth, or the fat kids who got the mickey taken out of them, and all this sort of stuff. And they weren't even cool enough to be in the punk rock scene, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They didn't have the right clothes or the right shoes. And that's what I'm really particularly proud. You know, I mean, once a bloke turned up and he brought a busload of Down syndrome's kids to our gig in Exeter. And they just went nuts. I mean, it was great, you know, complete riot. Shut the skinheads up for good and proper. And they was all on stage and sort of, you know, clicking their fingers like I was Elvis Presley or something. And I said to the bloke, you know, how on earth did you get these kids to come to the gig? And he went, well, I just told the people, you know, I was taking them to a concert. I didn't say what sort of concert, but that's one of my proudest moments. You know what I mean? We were getting out there talking to the real misfits of, like, and those people who never had, you know, a voice. And I've met a lot of people since then, and they've all come up and said, you know, thanks to Crass for letting me. I wasn't alone, and I think that's what it was as well. You weren't alone.
Thanks. Well, thanks, Steve. And I want to come back to you to find out if age has mellowed you, because you now live here in Norfolk, and you've had a new career since, albeit temporarily, but as a lifeboatman. So we'll ask you about that shortly. But we've got more.